Join us
3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
on Hard Facts.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
Hello, my name is Ronke from Ikorodu.
Hi, I'm Emeka from Festa.
My name is Ahmed from my papa.
I want to tell you about my radio. My radio is my best friend.
My steady companion.
My radio keeps me informed
all day long
with hot topics,
trending news,
politics, and current affairs.
My radio gives me the best music.
My radio is
Nigeria Info.
Everybody in Nigeria listens to Nigeria Info.
So, on Hard Facts, we talk about everything in the world around you.
Government doesn't have the capacity to generate and produce power for the whole country.
Making sense of it all so that you can get a clearer picture.
I've collected 500 billion and I can only show you borehole.
It's politics.
For me, it is what I call Iberberism. I beg your pardon. Go and search for it, my friend.
It's current affairs.
4 years course, metamorphosing into 6 years.
And news that
Affects you.
What an academic academic yo. In their leadership rococo, leadership brababare.
It's all the serious stuff.
But with a light-hearted twist.
I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Aghogho.
Join us 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. every weekday.
Right here.
On Hard Facts. On Hard Facts.
Hello, Lagos. Good afternoon. I am Sandra Ezekwesili, and I have missed saying those words.
Shaku Maku, all the way from Mecca, Medina, and back.
to Lagos. Idil Kabir.
Yes, indeed. And these are your hard facts. Your first hard fact is my count up. It's been 1 week since the Senate confirmed all President Buhari's ministerial nominees, and they still do not have portfolios. The presidency has said that they're going to be giving their portfolios very soon, and so we wait. And so far, it's been 75 days since President Buhari was sworn in, and Nigeria still has no ministers. We're hoping that you are enjoying your holiday. Aghogho and I are working as usual. And so is Nancy Dumebi, who is on the line from Kano. Hello, Nancy.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so Aghogho tells me something special is about to happen in Kano, a Durbar.
Yes, that's true.
Barka the Salah Festival to you.
Sorry to say.
How did Kano celebrate?
Well, we woke up with a very heavy downpour this morning, and that just spread the rest of the day because the rain was heavy and people didn't really come out to celebrate as expected.
Yeah.
On a normal day, on a normal Salah morning, everybody will be with their new regalias, attires, atampa, and you see the streets flooding with different colors. But this morning, everybody was inside. The rain was just pouring and pouring. More to say like some sort of Salah blessings.
I see. Forcing everybody to spend time with their family, eh?
Yeah.
I'm sure no one can rival the festivity in Kano with respect to the Eid Adha celebration. But Nancy, tell me something. I know that the president of Guinea, Alpha Conde, is in the country. He's stopped over with President Muhammadu Buhari Daura for the Salah celebration. I understand that it's going to be hosted by Governor Umar Ganduje, and there will be a Doba when he arrives. Tell us about the preparation.
Yes, he arrived in Kano, I think, early today.
Good.
And he has been welcomed. He's going to stay for a 2-day visit. And during his stay, they'll be hosting the yearly traditional Kano Daba Festival. Now, the Daba Festival is a time where various district heads will come out with their beautiful horses, their entourage, the traditional medicine makers, those that shoot the cannons, and we have all the various emirates. If you could remember, Kano State now has 5 emirates. Aside the main Kano, we have the Bichi, the Rano, the Karamli, and the rest. So on a normal day, the Hawandaushe, as it is properly called, is a time, if it were to be before the creation of the new emirate. Now the Emir of Kano, Malam Muhammad II, is going to be moving around with horses, as well as millions, if not thousands, of other entourage in colorful display of attires, beautiful horses, and the rest. But now, early this morning, Ganduje gave a directive that all emirate councils should host the different Daba within their emirate. Now, they do not need to come to Kano Metropolis to celebrate with Emir Sanusi. So the new established emirates would host their different Hawa and Daoshe. But for this, the visit of the president is going to be in Kano, and they're going to do the Hawa and Daoshe tomorrow, Tuesday. So preparations are underway to see that everything goes well.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Looking forward to hear from Nancy. And we're going to make sure with the Info Connect we have an opportunity to watch live tomorrow, the Doba, as it happens. So hook up to us from tomorrow. Are you going to be on any of the horses, Nancy?
I hope so.
She hopes so,
that
she
will be
says.
a dream.
Nancy Dumebi, thank you so much for talking to us. That's a bit of what we have planned for you on today's Hard Facts. Our big 3 will talk about International Youth Day. We're going to talk about whether Nigeria and older Nigerians are giving the youths everything they should to reach their potential. And teachers have asked NYSC to stop posting corpers without education degrees to schools. And today is the 30th anniversary of Sam Okwaraji's death. Do we have checkpoints today?
Yeah, we got checkpoint. It's the biggest story in the security circles, and the reactions have continued to pour in. The Nigerian army and the police face-off. Over the weekend, I've been getting different reactions to what people think about it and where we are. If lessons have been learned, so we'll have discussions with the security expert looking at what to make of it and all of the stories coming with this story. Try and make some sense out of it all. That's going to be on Checkpoint.
And on the
4
Big
p.m.
Hard Fact, something special is also coming their way.
Yeah, Big Hard Fact. We're sticking with education. Now we are counting down to the president's assigning of portfolios to the ministers designate, which is just a couple of days from now. It's going to happen next week, Tuesday, and we're going to Wednesday when the FEC meeting happens next week. We're going to run coverage of that beginning from when it starts at the chambers of the State House. So we're going to be starting with defense, and we look at all of the big points talking around defense, state of security of the nation, welfare of the military, interagency cooperation, and a lot more from 5 p.m. to 6 on the Big Hat Fact.
And as usual, throughout the show, we'll be bringing you the latest updates from our news desk, the world of news, sports, and entertainment. We'll wrap things up with I Beg to Differ today. As usual, let's start things up with the Big Three.
This is the Big Three.
The Big Three
On Hard Facts.
On 99.3 Nigeria Info.
You know what to expect on the Big Three. Stories that everyone's talking about right now is Nigeria doing its best for its youth population. The morning show talked about Youth Day. The Lunchtime magazine with Colin Steck also talked about Youth Day. So let's talk about it some more. It's an important day. And our second story is sending untrained corpers to teach. Better or worse than not having enough teachers. And Sam Okwaraji slumped and died. When was your last medical check? Let's get into the stories. Today, like we said, International Youth Day is a day set aside to celebrate young people and draw attention to the challenges they face in achieving social and economic inclusion and freedom. While youths are the largest adult demographic group worldwide, they are also the adult demographic group with the least economic assets and the fewest social and political freedoms. According to the United Nations, the UN also sees youth as a formative period where people develop the relevant skills and experience to make them productive members of society for the rest of their active lives. Now, the UN calls on every member nation to develop sound youth policies to ensure that human capital development is successful and avoid the problems of unemployability and non-inclusion in later adulthood. Happy World Youth Day, Aghogho. Do you still qualify as a youth? It's 29 now.
When you have several big parties, political parties in the country where there are youth leaders closer to 70 than away from it, then you might as well consider yourself a youth if you'll probably be over 50 in this country. But it's the sad development for youth in the country. And I sort of love the theme for this year's event, which is transforming education. And tomorrow we'll have a big discussion on education, and just like Sandra did say, all the discussion we're going to have from the 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. hour, we're going to be looking at the youth aspect of the discussions, with security, with education, with the economy, all of those significant ministries we should look at. And I think that one of the key I was having a discussion earlier on with a youth leader.
How old was this youth leader?
I don't even know his age, but I think his ideas.
Was he a youth?
His ideas will qualify him to be a youth influencer.
Was he a youth though?
Yeah, he's a youth. And
he's under 29.
I don't know his age. I mean, you don't get to ask people their ages in normal conversations. But,
yeah.
Well, his thoughts about the youth there, I thought were really interesting. Is many countries in Africa already have ministries set aside for youth development and the programs and whatever goals they intend to achieve. But Nigeria's got a ministry of youth and sports. Interestingly, if you're going to divide how much of the money goes into sports, or let's just even say football, a large chunk of it goes that way rather than to youth development. And this has been something to carry over from the military days where you have a Ministry of Youth and Sports, just in the coinage of the ministry. So we don't even have a real, when we say youth policy, to be pursued by a ministry. And the same goes for most of the state ministries and the rest of them with what they're doing in terms of youth and development. And the biggest problems I think we face with education and the youth is discussion we'll always have in the numbers of people who eventually become youths or children who are out of school. And there's really no forward-thinking agenda to say that, yes, this is what we are doing. So that's something I think that we'll have discussions on And then it's tied to, United Nations says the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, tied around education, tied also around what the youths are doing.
And every time that we talk about young people, we talk about youths in Nigeria, very often in Nigeria, the narrative is very negative. You often hear people say things like, the youths are not helping themselves. I heard that today on Lunchtime Magazine, by the way. The youths are not serious. You even had our president refer to quote, lazy Nigerian youths. But if you notice, Aghogho, the United Nations is looking at the matter of youth empowerment from a completely different angle. The UN is saying society and the older people are the ones that can help or stop the youths from succeeding. And the Nigerian in all of us is ready to start arguing with them. But they made a very simple point. They said the youths are not born with an education. They are not born with jobs. Someone has to first give those things to them. And who is that someone? Society and the elders. So if a youth from childhood goes to school, but the school is substandard, he will graduate with a substandard education. I was listening to a caller on Lunchtime Magazine, we're calling Steke, and the caller was making a point about the education young people today are receiving being very mediocre. And I wanted to ask that person, if society, if from childhood, the people who went to school before the youth became a youth did not educate him in the way he was supposed to be educated, you cannot expect that person is going to get standard education. If a youth behaves like an uneducated person, do you blame him or do you blame the adults who came before him and who were in control and gave him a bad school? Of course you blame the adults. So for example, you have older Nigerians who say the standard of this university has fallen since I attended. But if you check who is running that university today, it's their age mates. So basically the UN is making the point that the youths are being molded and crafted by the people who are older than them in society, and a better job has to be done. Our youths are a reflection of the orientation that we give them. And so let's ask you who's listening to the show, do you think Nigeria has done enough to give the current generation of youths a good start in life? Did Nigeria give them good primary, secondary and tertiary education? Has Nigeria given them a good job market? Have older Nigerians been a good example to the youth? Who are more corrupt, Nigerian youths or older Nigerians? That sounds like it's going to be an I beg to differ question. 012770993, 012771993, 012772993, and 012773993. We're streaming this conversation on Facebook and YouTube as well at Nigeria Info FM. Facebook is Nigeria Info 993 and YouTube is just Nigeria Info. I'm wondering who you're going to say is more corrupt, the Nigerian youth or the older Nigerians. And do you think Nigerian young people have been giving a good job market? Do you think Nigerian old people have been a good example to Nigerian young people? Oluwafemi is in Apapa. Hello, sir. Thanks for calling us. Hello, Oluwafemi.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Aghogho Shakumaku.
Hey, Makoshi.
Yes. It is a great thing to be a youth in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes, seriously, it's a great thing. Having faced with the myriad of problems and all that, I think it is one of those things that makes a man. The educational sector, all strata of the society in Nigeria is marred with myriad of problems, and putting the youth to it. How can the youth survive and then become a man? I know it's kind of difficult. I started off saying it is a great thing. Check out great persons. They didn't come out from say a very convenient situation. They came out from this kind of society that is faced with all these irregularities. Education is a big problem in Nigeria, but we still have great minds that came out from that same system. But the problem is not necessarily the elite, right? The problem is not necessarily the elite. The problem is just the mindset of success. Basically, persons don't really have that mindset of success. We lack it as persons. That mindset of success is kind of, essential in our subconscious. So we don't really transit it to our developmental endeavors, rather. We don't really transcend it to our developmental endeavors. We can talk about the...
Hello? Oh, that's quite unfortunate. Call us back if you can, Oluwafemi. Hello? Oh, sorry about that. Well, let's move on to our second story. Corpers without education degrees have no business being posted to teach. That's the message the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, TRCN, has given the National Youth Service Corps today. Professor Segun Ajiboye, Registrar and Chief Executive of TRCN, said posting graduates in education to teach in schools would be putting round pegs in round holes, while posting anyone else would amount to destroying the future of students. Ajiboye also lamented the fact that, according to him, most of the teachers in the nursery and primary schools across the nation do not have degrees in education and are also not certified by and registered by the TRCN. Lots of square pegs in round holes, apparently, Aghogho.
Yeah, big question. But the point the teachers' body, registration body, is trying to make something they've made a number of years. And over a number of years, I've seen those statements being made and letters written to the NYSC saying, stop deploying corps members to schools as an easy way out, which this began because they're not able to provide places for the primary assignment for the corps members without making them go work in private organizations. So the school was an easy option for them. But the point where there's a big question mark and a lot of dispute, which I haven't seen the data provided to suggest that reasons for failures in school has to do with the corps members becoming teachers while they're in service for a year, tied directly to the failure rate in schools. I don't have that. They don't have that statistic to back and arrive at that sort of suggestion. But the question mark will continue to rise, which is tied to the first discussion about International Youth Day, what to do with the youth in the country, with how you deploy them after school, because many of them still at the end after the NYSC, there are questions about whether or not that 1 year has been, whether they've been engaged thoroughly, because it's just an easy way out to a problem, which is the lack of openings for people to do, whether it's NYSC or internship while they are doing their CWS program. That hasn't, it's gotten worse over the years. I mean, close to over 100,000 graduates every year.
There's an extreme shortage of licensed and certified teachers. So we have a problem. What should we do? Should we leave those jobs vacant instead of sending corpers? Is it better for the kids to learn badly from an unqualified corper than to not learn at all? Yeah. And this is quite interesting, Aghogho, because 2 Thursdays ago on the Big Hard Fact, we were talking about teaching science in indigenous languages. You remember? And my guest brought up this very point. He said, learning a subject in school doesn't mean that you have learned how to teach that subject. Teaching is a set of skills, and teachers spend 4 to 5 years getting a bachelor's degree in education to learn those skills. Some people even go further. They get a master's in education, and that degree is not a general degree. Every subject has its own education degree. Yeah. So math teachers study maths education. English teachers study English education, and so on. And so that means that for the most part, a math teacher shouldn't be speaking English, shouldn't be teaching English. They'll mess it up because they don't have the tools and the skills. So how much more somebody who did not get any education degree at all? Imagine someone sending me to a school now to go and teach children I don't know, English language. I mean, that I know how to speak it and know how to read it doesn't mean that I know how to teach it.
Yeah. And then Ajiboye also asked the question, I mean, how many teachers have been sent to hospitals to work?
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, if we say that we have a problem with the openings, lack of teachers in schools, and we use the opportunity to fill in the gap with the grads to study, to teach in, why don't we do the other way around? How many doctors are coming to teach in schools? Most likely none. But we do the other way around for them
and jeopardizing our education
system. So it's a stopgap measure which has continued to become long-term. And we see the sort of frustration in dealing with this, which if we don't deal with it on time, it's just back to the same problem. The NYSC program has to be reworked in a way that it meets the current trend. Otherwise, we're going to have more graduates who will end up being teachers. A very important other point he raised, and several seculars they've raised, is the fact that teaching is a job which requires passion. And many of the people who are going into this are just there because they've been posted as their primary assignment.
They don't have a choice.
They don't have the passion to do what they've been asked to do.
Well, let's bring it home to you. If we don't have enough education graduates willing to take teaching jobs, should we send unqualified corpers? Were you taught by corpers, or were you a corper without an education degree posted to teach? What was your experience? How did it turn out? Are you a teacher or a school proprietor? How do these corpers fare? 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. Because yes, we have a crisis. There's an extreme shortage of licensed and certified teachers with education degrees all across Nigeria. And you have primary schools, secondary schools who have a severe shortage of teachers, especially in the rural public schools. Those schools cannot pay well. The living conditions are not great. So a lot of teachers would rather stay in the bigger towns and work in private schools. So again, are you somebody who has an education degree, but you did not take these jobs? And if that happens to you who's not, in the education business at all, do you think if we don't have enough graduates who are graduates of education, should we send unqualified corps members? Shaiku is in Ikocha. Hello, Shaiku. Thanks for calling us.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. Good evening.
Yes, Shaiku calling from Ikocha.
Hello, Shaiku.
Yeah, I was taught, by a corper. I think, this problem, for him not, being an education teacher, I think, the guy was just messing up.
Okay.
Yeah, because, the guy was just, we were just looking at the guy as if he doesn't know what he was doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he didn't have background in education, so he obviously didn't know what he was doing.
Yes. He didn't have background in education, so what he was doing, I think almost all the students were just looking at him as if the guy, doesn't know what.
So do you think they should stop sending corps members to be teachers?
Yeah, I think so.
Shaiku, thank you for calling and sharing your thoughts. Kelly's in Apapa says that teaching has a methodology. Yes, Kelly, I agree with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, good. Sandra, afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, I am a registered teacher myself.
Okay.
Not a practicing one, though, because the teaching profession in this part of the world is really not paying, as it were. So, teaching has methodology. It's not a lay profession. It's not because you know chemistry, you should teach chemistry. It doesn't work that way. You must have the techniques, what it takes to teach, to impart, to transfer that knowledge that you have to someone else. So, that's my take.
All right, Kelly.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I like how everyone's keeping it very short today. We've got Adrian in Ikeja who says that he thinks we should be looking at a solution. All right, what solution, Adrian?
Okay, so basically we have the human capital available via the youth service program. However, we tend not to know what to do with these people. It's the same thing you mentioned about COS. We have people who go through school, who get some form of education, irrespective of how professional the education is. But basically, they have a skill set. And should we not be looking at how to empower these people if they are going to be teachers? Is there no program? I know the Institute of Management has something that they do to certify youth corpers. I know different human capital projects are on for project management training, different skill sets training. So why can't we train these people to become the teachers that we are talking about? We have a dearth of professionals in the teaching sector. Even the few that we have, we still experience human capital flight, as is with every other profession. So why can't these teachers' unions look at a way to create a program, it's a educational program that these people can go through. We don't have to use 5 years to get an educational degree before you can teach. You understand what I mean? If we have the interest in it, you can create a system that could allow these guys to certify and become useful to society.
I see.
So it's an opportunity for them to actually even tap into this pool, this river that is flowing before them. And they are telling us that because it's salty water, we want only fresh water. I don't understand what that means.
Adrian, thanks for calling and sharing a solution. Jeffrey's in Aja says that they need to get core members who are not educationally qualified out of school. What do you mean, Jeffrey? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey.
Welcome.
Yeah, some time ago I was CLO in Ogun State.
Okay.
So I actually experienced a lot of things that went down in school. You know, most of these corpers, they are not educationally qualified. They don't have ED attached to their bachelor's degree. So they don't know what it is to impact knowledge on children. You get? Most schools, they just have only corpers. They don't have teachers. They just pay them 5,000, 10,000 because, you know, these corpers they'll just take any amount. And now most of these corpers, they didn't even go to school. They didn't go through school as it's supposed to be. Some of them paid their way through school. Some of them don't even know how to read. So you get what I'm saying? So they need to get these corpers out of school. Someone who went to study, let's say, estate management, for instance, what that corper going to teach the children?
Yeah, good point. I have to think about that one, Jeffrey. Thanks for calling and sharing your thoughts. Let's move on to our final story. We've talked about unqualified youths being sent to teach other youths. But in our third story, we're talking about a very qualified young man who died in his prime. Today marks the 30th anniversary of the death of Sam Okwaraji. He died on this day in 1989 at the National Stadium, Surulere, playing for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Okwaraji was only 25 years old when he died, famously scored the then fastest goal of the AFCON during the Maroc 1988 edition of the tournament. Now, apart from his football career, Okwaraji was a lawyer who received a master's degree in law from the Lateran University in Rome. And his death shocked the nation, which united in mourning him. Our hero's passed, Aghogho.
Yeah, shocked the entire nation. I'm sure Femi and the gang will take this in, in full. But I'm shocked that 30 years have gone by. It was just like yesterday. I should have gone to watch the match. I remember very well then, the National Stadium. It was a World Cup qualifier, Nigeria versus Angola. And the game was really tight. We had to at least get a win and then hope to beat Cameroon or pull a draw with Cameroon in the Yaoundé 2 weeks later. And then Okwaraji slumped in the stadium. He wasn't the only one who died that day. That day was one of the darkest days in Nigeria's football history. At least 12 others were crushed because the stadium was...
There's a stampede.
Stampede. Over 80,000 people in the stadium was meant for capacity of... in fact, some reports over 100,000. And some were crushed... over several dozens wounded. And I remember the following morning, the front page of Concord and several other dailies, Sam Okwaraji dies. And he went into Nigeria's myth folklore because he was then the only one who would have died on the field of play. And the shocking thing about how it all played out, this was a patriot. There were times they said Okwaraji would come to national team and then wouldn't take his money for. I mean, he was selfless. And then he just died that way. And then what happened? There was a national stadium. There was supposed to be a bust at the national stadium. Samuel Chukwuma Okwaraji's bust. That is gone. The entire stadium is in a state of dereliction, which portrays what has happened to Sam Okwaraji. A lot of young people growing up then thought about the whole thing and said maybe we could look at Okwaraji as he was. I mean, a lawyer, a footballer. I mean, of anybody who was in that team, the Green Eagles team, then you probably looked at Okwaraji as being the brightest star of them all, and then, the entire nation was in deep mourning. Quickly, this sort of thing happened to several other people like Amirang, with several Nigerian players. I remember Sam Okwaraji, people who died on the pitch, Cameroon, Mark Vivian Foe. But Patrice Muamba, who was a Bolton player from the DR Congo, who moved to the United Kingdom, 78 minutes he was on the pitch. He was resuscitated on the pitch. They carried out the resuscitation of Fabrice Muamba. People say if it was in Africa, Muamba would have died. But Okwaraji, there was no ambulance, there was no stretcher. Sad that 30 years later, the state of our sports is still in a stretcher state.
Actually, one of the things that struck me about Okwaraji's death is the lack of consistent information. The young man, like you mentioned, died on national duty. He died, or at least slumped, live on national television in the whole of Nigeria, in the eye of the whole Nigeria. He was wearing green and white, but the medical facilities in the stadium were not up to standard, so he could not be saved. And there was even no agreement as to what killed him. Do you know that? So some said it was a heart attack. Some said it was heat stroke because he was complaining about the heat before the match. Some said it was a seizure. And it takes me...
In fact, there was a report that he told Uche Okafor, who was his teammate, while they were taking national anthem, he told him that, I need a doctor. And I said, why? Asked him in Igbo, why do you need a doctor while you're still on your feet? You know, I remember Uche Okafor, who incidentally is also passed on to, who had said
in
that.
one of the interviews. And it takes me back to what we talked about in the first story, Aghogho. Is our society doing enough for the youth, or is it letting them down? This young man, if he had lived, would have been 55 today. He would have retired from football long ago. But maybe he would have switched to practicing law. After all, he had the degrees for it. We have Adokia Masiamaka, who, after playing for the Super Eagles, became a lawyer, rose to Attorney General of Rivers State. He could have been the next Masiamaka. Instead, he just dropped dead on a football pitch. It's really such a tragedy. How can a young man who came for national duty meet his end in this way with no clear answers? It reminds me of Nwankwo Kanu. He played his whole life in Nigeria. Nobody knew that he was born with a heart defection, a heart condition. And it was when he moved to a foreigners club, Inter Milan of Italy, that they discovered and treated him. If Kanu were playing for Enugu Rangers or Kanu Pillars, would he be alive today?
Big question. So whether lessons have been learned, I'm sure the listeners will want to tell us about that. Nigeria was banned for 1 year after that incident. We refurbished the stadium, but I'm not sure Okwaraji's family got the same sort of treatment. NFF Amajupini put out a statement, but let's see how it goes, whether it's just mere rhetoric or action.
Where were you when you found out Okwaraji had died? How did it affect you? What do you remember about him? Does Nigeria do a good enough job, taking care of those who represent us? 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. You can comment on any of the other stories on the Big Three today. We've got Uche Emodi, who's been calling us for a while. Uche, how are you? Welcome.
I'm very well. And you?
I'm very well. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is that Zainab?
This is Sandra.
Sandra.
Yes.
Oh, am I on air?
You're live on air, yes.
Okay. All right. Sandra, how are you doing?
I'm very well.
I'm brilliant. Please go on.
Please, I really do not want to talk about who is corrupt between the older folks and the youth. We already know the answer.
Do we?
Yes, we do. We do.
I don't know the answer.
Sandra, you want to ostrich now? Let's get past this one so that I can talk about the things. How can you tell me your baby in your house knows how to steal when the father is a saint? It doesn't happen.
All right, let's go ahead.
Anyway, since you talked about education, there's something that's been born in my mind about you guys that are on-air personalities. When it comes to alphanumerics, there's nothing like 090. We are raising children, for crying out loud. And our children are listening in as well.
Say that again. There's nothing like what?
There's nothing like 090.
So what do you have?
090.
Have you ever heard the British say 007 or you hear 007?
007 is a caption, my dear Aghogho.
No, it's not. It's
a caption.
No, it's not.
Before we expose something.
I'm telling you this.
Oh, Aghogho, will you listen? Don't argue over this now.
As a matter of authority, not even argument. It's a matter of
as a matter of authority, my dear.
Authority.
I have a doctoral in apologetics.
Brilliant.
Let me talk to you.
Brilliant.
Let me talk to you.
Now, this is the way...
Let me talk to you. Let me talk to you.
All right, go
All
ahead.
you need to do is pick up your phone and select 0 and dial 9 and put 0, and it won't go anywhere. It doesn't happen in alphanumeric.
Unfortunately,
alphanumeric.
unfortunately, it's 4:00 and we need to go for the business news, Uche. But let's have that conversation about numerics on a different segment of Hard Facts. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. Coming up, we'll talk about that scuffle between the army and the police that happened over the weekend. But up next is our business news right here on 99.3 Nigeria Info.